to the most must-listen to talk show on the internet. Welcome to AEG, and I am not your regular host, JB. No, he is out today, so we made a call to the bullpen, and I am rising to the occasion. You may know me from previous episodes. I am Colt 40 on the internet. My friends call me Dan. My friends call me Dillman. I am here. I am hosting. I am with Marlon, as usual.
Hey guys, what's up?
I am with Dalton.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm back.
Back from West Virginia.
North Carolina.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Highwayman.
And, go ahead.
I'm with a very special guest tonight, the internet famous across all of Northeast Ohio, at least, Mr. Reflog, Mr. Chris McNeil from the Reflog Show on the internet. This man has basically put a monopoly on the internet for sports in Ohio. Chris, thanks for being with us today.
For better or for worse, by the way, on that monopoly. You know, there are a lot of people that would like to kill me, but
the polarizing figure that is McNeil.
I think that would be fair to say. Thanks for having me on, guys.
That's how you know you've made it, if people actually want to kill you.
Yeah,
that's true.
We're hoping to get there someday.
That was the moment when they threatened to kill me and my family. I thought, wow, here it is.
I'm here.
Here's the top of the mountain, boys.
Oh, yeah. Once again, thanks for being on the show, man. I really, really appreciate it.
So we're going to hop straight into some kind of nitty-gritty stuff here on Chris. First off, let's go straight to your Twitter. For the people who haven't heard the story, the Reflog name comes from a certain place. For those who haven't heard, where did you get that?
Yeah, it's kind of funny, especially when the parade blew up and I talked to media outlets. They would kind of get very nervous about my name. They thought it was like some kind of a weird sexual term or something the kids are using these days. Reflog. It's just golfer backwards. That's all it is. And I had to explain that to a lot of media outlets. They're like relieved because they could put it into print. They were worried it was some kind of a strange term that the kids were using that they knew nothing about. But it also couples well with my AV. And anybody who's seen it, if you have not seen it, it's a mustachioed cigar guy. And what you need to do next time you get to the Google machine is put in cigar guy Tiger Woods. And you're going to see one of the most fabulous pictures ever created. It's from the 2010 Ryder Cup. And it's Tiger Woods hitting the ball directly at the camera. And what you got is the entire crowd looking directly at the camera. So you looking at the picture are looking at the crowd looking at you. And as you pan across, you see all the normal golf spectators that you would expect to see at a Ryder Cup. And then you see this mustachioed gentleman off to the right who is in costume. And he sticks out. He looks like he's photoshopped into his own picture there. It's unbelievable. I've always said when I get an office, if I get a nice one, I'm going to put this up over the desk and just blow it up. But that guy he's a fan of the Euros. He's from Europe, and he dressed up as Mikel Jimenez, who is his favorite golfer. And he dressed up that way to support him for the day. And it's just such a fabulous picture. When I got onto Twitter years ago, I used that as my AV, and I was frankly surprised that more people hadn't, and that some people have not discovered the magic that is that photo. So check it out on there. Cigar Guy Tiger Woods is what you want to Google. And that picture is something to behold.
I did not know that.
No, he is not kidding. That is a hilarious
Isn't
photo. It's
and you immediately think, you see the golf ball too coming right at the camera. You're thinking, what happens next? Does this poor cameraman die? Like, I had to look to see what the backstory was afterwards. And fortunately for him, for his family, the cameraman was okay. Everybody was okay in that shot, and it produced just something magical.
So it's kind of cool, though, that you just kept it. You just kept it as your Twitter avatar, and that's been it the whole time, right? So
yeah.
I see you got the statue on your desk. I saw you had a sticker on your coffee mug and everything.
I do. I've embraced it now. People have forced me to embrace it because actually these are a couple of, I guess you call them fans or Twitter followers who sent me both the wood carving of my AV as well as stickers for my my water bottle. So yeah, I've really embraced the cigar guy. I reached out to him back a few years ago, there was a guy on Twitter who follows me who said that he's one of his good friends, but the guy's not on Twitter, or he is on Twitter, but he doesn't hardly go on there at all. And I tried to set him up so he'd come on my show so we could have a conversation, but it never happened. It never happened. And I'm still looking for that. That's the missing link in all of this, is I want to be able to talk to that guy. I don't know whether he'd be like, hey, I don't like what you've done with my image. I want to kill you. Or, one of those things again, where I've reached the top of the mountain and people want to kill me again. Or whether he'll just totally embrace what I've done with it. I don't know. Interesting to find out. Hopefully I get that chance at some point.
I mean, if he wants to kill you, it's like you almost owe him that at this point, right?
Yeah. I'd say take one shot. One shot. In fact, here's a golf club. Here's a golf ball. We're going to recreate that picture, only you're going to be Tiger Woods. Just take one shot at me from 10 feet away. Let's go.
It's actually an awesome story, man. I had no idea about any of that. I was actually a little bit disappointed by your actual appearance tonight. I thought you were gonna come in looking like that guy, but
you should see, people out there in real life. They're very disappointed. They get all excited to like meet me. They'll DM me, hey, are you at this game? I'd love to meet you. And every time I walk up to somebody like that, you could just see the disappointment in their eyes. They're just like, it's just like some 40-year-old white guy. This is a dad. Who's that cigar guy? We were looking to meet him.
Oh man, that's awesome, dude. So we got a little outline prepared tonight. We're gonna talk about first thing we're gonna talk about is the Fortnite Battle Royale craze. I mean, not just Fortnite, but that's the big one at this point. I mean, you got the other ones like Apex and PUBG and all that, but I still think Fortnite is probably one of the bigger ones. After that, we're gonna talk some Blue Jackets, some Indians, some our thoughts on the NFL draft, not just Cleveland or whatever, just the draft in general. And we'll talk about the Browns, 2018 Browns, the improvement they made, and the 2019 Browns going forward. And then we've got a topic of the week that I'm sure a lot of you guys are gonna be able to guess what that is, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So starting with the Fortnite craze, you have kids that play Fortnite, Chris.
I do. I've got two boys that absolutely love it. And I was telling you guys earlier before we got on the air, that's part of the reason I was a little late here, was I was buying some skins for them. And it's basically just bribes that I've been dragging my feet all weekend to pay up on. And I finally decided to do that right as I was supposed to be on this podcast. And of course, if you've ever bought anything, that's my one big gripe about this whole thing, is if you've ever bought, some of these VR coins or some of the other things, you can't quite tell if it goes through sometimes. And of course, if I say, did that go through? My kids will be like, no, it didn't, Dad. It didn't take. Oh, you better hit it again. And so I did. So yeah, I double charged. So I was all pissed off before I got on here, but I go and try and reverse some charges. Got about $50 worth of crap now. And I just wanted to buy a couple of skins and some coins for the kiddos. But yes, that's a long answer to my kids do play that damn game.
So it costs you a little bit of money for a free game.
I know.
Free to play game.
There's the old saying, there's no such thing as a free lunch. There's also no such thing as a free game these days.
No, absolutely not. A lot of those free to play games actually profit a ton, even more so than the games that you buy at the store, because of all those microtransactions, what they're called. And like you said, the skins that you buy for your kid, it probably costs you a ton of money at this point. So
yeah, they were making all their money off of stupid dads, and I right into that demo. I mean, yeah, give me this. Like, okay, you do your chores, I'll buy that for you. So I do, and then I buy it twice, and I just get hammered on these things.
Yeah, and I don't think any of us here play Fortnite. I have tried it. I've played it before.
At least.
Yeah, it's
I'll
not
get tired of getting destroyed by kids.
by your kids, probably.
Yeah, see, that would drive me nuts. Yeah, it's like some 12-year-old just comes up and just tattoos you. Like, what fun is this? This sucks.
Yeah, you get ruined by them too, and then they talk shit to you, and it just makes you feel, I don't know, less of a man.
You can respawn and come back in. Nope, you got to go into a completely new game and start over again.
I could see a scenario where I jump on there and I'm like feeling pretty good. Maybe I get a kill or two or something. And then somebody just lights me up and I come to find out it's my son, my 8-year-old son. And then that would just be it.
Obviously, you said you don't game too much. Have you tried it? Have you tried it while your kids are playing? Have you picked up the controller for a game or two? Or
Oh yeah, yeah. I've done a little bit of that. So then just enough to get myself killed and get my kids. My kids just start yelling at me. They start yelling out instructions, and I can't understand anything that they're saying. It's not as easy as go right or go left. It's like things with the guns and with I'm dating myself now because I sound like my own dad, like playing Mario Brothers when I was a kid, where you'd say, "Oh, I just don't understand anything," but really, it's got me completely flummoxed.
Oh yeah, it moves fast.
But Fortnite's kind of taken over locker rooms across all of the leagues here in the U.S. For just
except
Friday,
for the
I
Indians.
listened to an interview.
Santana.
Any locker room he walks into, there's not going to be Fortnite.
No Fortnite around Carlos Santana. He's an American citizen now, and he's going to exercise his right to destroy Fortnite.
Good.
Right.
He'll break any TV in his way to make sure everybody's paying attention.
That's awesome. I did not know that either.
I actually just watched Moneyball again Friday too, and when Brad Pitt walks in and they're all dancing after losing like their 12th game in a row, and he's like, "Is losing fun?" I just think of that when I think of Carlos smashing a TV with a baseball bat.
He's a hero. He's a hero for sure. But yeah, so
stuff like top prospects from the Tigers, Casey Mize. Like I said, I was listening to an interview. He said he plays, and it's the only game that he plays. He got his PlayStation for free, downloaded Fortnite for free. He said he won't buy skins or anything. He's like, I will never put $1 into that game. But there's also people like Andre Drummond plays, Alex Ovechkin, a Stanley Cup MVP, is, from what I hear, a decent Fortnite player. Gordon Hayward is a big gamer. Karl Anthony Towns, former first overall pick, has been caught staying up all night during road trips playing games, which I don't know how. As a coach, you've got to be pulling your hair out. Instead of getting rest, your players are up all night playing video games. I can just only imagine the frustration that's going on in these guys' heads, where it's like,
it could be so much worse, though. I mean, come on, it's not like it's the Mets of the '80s or something like that, or even the Cowboys at the White House. That's right. No. I mean, playing video games seems so, I don't know, like 2019 problems. Yeah.
Like, at least you're staying clean, but can we
right
focus, guys? But if you're winning, if you're Alex Ovechkin and you're winning, you're putting up MVP performances, go out and do whatever you had to do to clear your mind.
Maybe that's why they got bumped from the first round, though.
Yeah, maybe he took it too serious this year.
Playing too much Fortnite and then got bumped in the first round. We'll have to get him on the show to talk to him about it and see if that hasn't had anything to do with it. But yeah, the Fortnite thing, it's kind of swept the nation a little bit. I mean, obviously over the past couple years, we never got into it. I keep saying, man, this is our generation's version of not understanding kids these days. I've said it on multiple occasions, and I stand by it. And we are gamers here. This is the AEG show. This is what we typically talk about, and I still don't understand the battle royale craze, if you will. So. Maybe it's because I'm almost 30. I don't know. I know people older than me play, but
yeah. But speaking of getting knocked out of the playoffs early, the NHL playoffs in general have been kind of madness this year, between all the number one seeds getting knocked out in the first round. The Jackets finally advanced past the first round, which I almost didn't know if I was going to live to see the day.
Yeah, how about that? Not only advance, but sweep out the number one seed and record setting and President's Trophy winning Lightning. Unbelievable.
To see that was a thing of beauty. Bobrovsky's been standing on his head all playoffs long. Even last night in the loss, he still looked good. He had some kind of fluky goals that he gave up, but
that one goal still bugs me. I mean, that was keeping me up at night last night, where the guy like stubbed his stick as he hit it, so there was like no velocity on that puck, and somehow it got through the 5-hole. And I'm like, how does that happen? But goalie Bob has just been so good throughout this whole playoff, and then you see something like that, and you're like, wow, I could play that position. I could do it better.
Yeah.
It's like unbelievable. But yeah, we kind of got it handed to us a little bit last night. Hopefully tomorrow night, get it back to nationwide. Maybe we could spark something. We got it. We got it.
Hopefully.
Yeah, force that game 7 back in Boston. That would be nuts. But we got to get the business done tomorrow.
Absolutely.
That's where I'm wholeheartedly confident that they can bring this to 7. The crowds have been unreal so far. All they want to
talk about that for a second, because it really has been, and people love. It's just the thing to just totally rip on Columbus and they're not a hockey town. Like,
I've heard that a lot.
What the hell do you expect? I mean, we've never been out of the first round before. First of all, we don't have tradition. We don't have history. This is an expansion club that you dropped into Columbus, Ohio. And oh, by the way, we've done a fantastic job of supporting this team in this playoff run. They went, and it was a week ago, right before the Boston series, they had a scrimmage, an inter-squad scrimmage on a Monday afternoon, and 5,000 people showed up on a Monday afternoon. That's just incredible. And I was at the game on Thursday, and it was deafening in there. And honestly, the only thing that I can really equate it to is like the student section at an NCAA, additional. I mean, somewhere late in the tournament or a home game in the NCAA, because everybody was on their feet the entire time. It was deafening. And, that game on Thursday, we didn't win, and it didn't look good. But it wasn't for the sake of what the crowd was doing, because the crowd was up. They were ready. They were, and then I watched the game last night in Boston, and they're sitting down the whole time. No one's giving them hell for that, because they've got all the tradition and all the history and everything else. No one's going to give them a hard time. But Columbus, everybody just likes to just crap on us. And I think the exact opposite. I think they've done a fantastic job rallying around this team, and people want to call it bandwagon, but what this is exactly how you build a following is by being good, by getting into the playoffs, by advancing in the playoffs. That's how you create a following, and that's what they're doing right now. So everybody just needs to lay off, no matter what happens in this series. And by the way, I don't think we're dead, but no matter what happens in this series, I'm pretty proud of what Columbus has done so far. And unfortunately, I think that we're going to be losing, like you mentioned, Bobrovsky, the bread man, Panarin. We're going to be losing some of those guys. I really don't want to think about that. I'm going to take an Indians approach with
Frankie.
Just say enjoy them. Enjoy the Jackets as we have them right. I'm hoping we can get by Boston, because I don't want to think about what's next.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about the crowd too. I saw some pictures from the actual watch party last night, and the stadium had thousands of people in it, and that was just for a watch party.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you could check the box on anything you want to with this Columbus fan base. They've been able to exceed it. I mean, they really have, and nobody wants
crew.
And if you listen, and I don't know if you guys had listened to the announcers at all. I think it was one of the first games. I think it was the first game in Columbus, maybe on Tuesday, where they were just appalled by everything the fans did. And first of all, they didn't understand. I guess they didn't realize that we have a cannon in the arena, and they were kind of surprised by the cannon.
Yeah, they were not.
And then they're like, oh, and all the fans were up on their feet, and they weren't sure about the chants. They were chanting CBJ, and they thought they were chanting something else. And then they were amazed that people showed up with jerseys on and weren't wearing the shirts. Like, I don't know what people expect when they come to Columbus. I really don't. And I don't know why they're bewildered that we have a fan base that has some pride around here. And they're going to have to get used to it, because we've done such a fantastic job that hopefully the Blue Jackets can continue some sort of magic this year, because we really deserve it.
Absolutely. I think Ohio sports as a whole, Ohio fans as a whole deserve it. I know Columbus isn't Cleveland and stuff, but
north of Wilmington. Of Wilmington. I agree with you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
North of Wilmington, not including Toledo. Then I'm with you.
All right, fair enough, man. But yeah, and you got that one guy. God, what's his name? The guy from what was he from Barstool? He's just been talking loads of shit.
Oh yeah. Oh, he just loves. He just trolls to troll. He trolls for the game, and it's obvious what he's doing. He just wants to get a reaction, and sometimes it's fun to go back and forth with him, just to go back with him. But you got to realize that that's exactly what he wants. So I hate playing into it too much. But if I got a couple of digs, I'll go for him.
Absolutely. Well, he made it on the AEG show, so he's famous now.
I think so.
But
You can say that again.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I heard that Portnoy guy is really struggling these days.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's gonna be Ohio in general. I mean, Ohio sports kind of get crapped on for fans, and it happened in the playoffs with the Indians. It's happening with the Jackets.
Well, here's what's going to happen, though. Here's kind of the next steps. We're gonna have like a Chicago Cubs, a Boston Red Sox thing, where the fans, where people nationally kind of feel sorry for us or say they do, and then we start to be everywhere. And that's where the Browns are at right now. We're making that turn, and you could just see people are going from, oh, poor Browns, that fan base deserves it, to now it's like, hey, what have the Browns really won? And you people are getting obnoxious. And I'm not apologizing for that, by the way, but you could tell. I mean, you got Baker Mayfield. Did you guys see him at the Derby yesterday?
Yeah.
You got him. You got it's just so much excitement around the Browns. You had Hard Knocks last year. This year we're going to be on national TV 4 times, and they're talking about things some more. I mean, they're going to get a lot of Browns, and we're going to start to feel it. The worm is going to turn. It's going to go from, oh, those sorry Browns fans, we feel bad for them, I hope they win, to, God damn it, we're just sick of hearing about these Browns.
Yep.
These damn fans are just so annoying, and it's already started. I cannot wait until we get to next season. We start winning a few ball games. We start acting like a fan base like we've won the Super Bowl, and people are just going to be out of their minds.
Yeah.
absolutely.
That goes
And
back
rightfully
to
so. We deserve it, by the way.
Yeah.
We deserve every freaking second of it. So I am unapologetic for anybody who says that, hey, you guys shouldn't be puffing your chests out. I'm sorry. I've been a Browns fan my entire life. I don't have a Super Bowl. I don't have a Super Bowl appearance. So I deserve everything, everything right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that goes back to the World Series with the Cubs too. I spent so long saying, like, if the Indians are ever going to lose to anybody in the World Series, I just hope it's the Cubs. They could use it. They deserve it. And then the second it happened, the Cubs turned into the most obnoxious fan base. And I've gone to like New Orleans and had an Indians hat on and had Cubs fans come up to me and start talking trash. And I'm like, you guys didn't win for over 100 years, and now you think you're the best club ever.
That was just because of a rain delay, by the way.
Yeah, I was in the stadium for that, and it was my nightmare came to life.
No,
There was more light blue than there was navy blue in the stadium that day,
and that's sad. That's really sad. You know, that's
horrible.
one of the things I really regret for that whole run is just how we let Chicago fans fill our stadium throughout that entire series.
every
Well, it's not that
B-list
far of a
celebrity they
drive.
could bring in.
It's not that far of a drive. These people, you know, they've been waiting for it for a long time. I understand how it happens, but I'm still upset that it did happen.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
all people from Ohio buying tickets and selling them on StubHub to
Yeah.
Cubs fans.
I'll tell
And
you
I
this.
think, I truly believe, I know it was cool because the Cavs won the championship that year. I kept saying, though, I'm like, if the Indians do it, it's going to be 10 times bigger than when the Cavs did it. I don't know. I could be wrong there.
No,
But
I agree with you. It would be bigger for the Indians, and then both of them will be dwarfed by the Browns. It'll be
Oh, absolutely.
an atomic bomb goes
Yeah.
off, and I mean, forget about it.
It's
Turn off the lights, like, you know, in every single community around Cleveland, just turn off the lights, the last one out, as everyone goes to the parade for that following week. I mean, forget about it. Everywhere, Akron, Kent, you know, everything around there. Hell, Columbus can probably turn off the lights. There are going to be people going up to Cleveland right
Yeah.
now. That thing.
Absolutely.
It's funny because I remember Dalton when the 0-16 season was happening, and I told him, imagine if the Browns are the one team that makes it to 16-0 and wins the Super Bowl. You know,
Yeah.
it's like I was like, bro, Cleveland would have been like insane at that moment. If that
They went on
happens,
fire.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you do the perfect season now for real. You know, we already have one. Now we do the real one, the legitimate one, the one that people actually want. Oh, my God. That would be a story to end all stories.
Have fun
Absolutely.
planning that one. That one might be a little bit more.
Yeah, I
Oh,
hope you're involved with that one too.
3,000.
And look,
Yeah.
I know about fickle fan base. I mean, I live in Miami, and trust
Oh,
me, it's our fan base is like the most fickle thing you could ever find. Because at least with the Browns, with the Cleveland Indians, with other teams, they're like there's always a fan base that always supports it no matter what. After the Heat, LeBron left the Heat. Forget it. The attendance dropped down like it's like, bro, why? The Dolphins haven't played good in like what since Marino was on here, and it's the Marlins don't even get me started on those guys. Like they just suck. It's
where the Marlins could have been right now if they still had Yelly and Giancarlo. If Fernandez wouldn't have passed away.
If you had an all-star team, did it ever happen? With the Marlins, it's like that. You had an all-star team at one point.
I still haven't forgiven the Marlins for what, 97? Was it 97?
Yep.
That's correct. And I went to one of those games. I went to the one where it snowed.
Oh,
no.
Yeah, it actually snowed there at the stadium. But
not as Ohio as it gets.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Everybody took it as a positive sign. Here we're playing Miami, and it's snowing during a baseball game, and this is the gods smiling upon us, and we all know how that turned out.
Yeah. That's another one that slipped away.
It is.
Like, if you ask me, like that's the one championship that I wish that Marlins didn't have that they not have won it, because what was the point of winning that? What was the point of winning that championship and then selling the team literally 4 months later? That to me was like, just give it to the Indians at that point. It was like it's you're just screwing everybody here in the fan base. Like, if I'm the type of person that if you win something, I'm okay, but I like having a legacy. I like having something that goes on and on.
A dynasty for sure.
Yeah.
But
kind of swing that into the current day Indians, though. Chris, kind of where do you think we're going to wind up standing on this season now that we had the slow off season? We didn't really bring anybody in. We let people walk. Brought back Carlos, which has been a godsend already.
Who would have seen that coming, by the way? I mean, honestly,
Carlos a slow starter.
Yeah, he's always a slow starter, and he's one of those. When he left, it was like, thanks for what you did for us. But he was just so frustrating. It seemed to me, he wasn't hitting when guys were in scoring position. He just didn't seem to be able to come through with the big hits. And now he comes back, and he's been the lion's share of our offense. I mean, but that's also a microcosm of where this team is at right now. Today was just absolutely just tough to watch, tough to listen to when you have ex-Indians going up there and just hammering the old club, Encarnacion. It's
got a
just
club that can really swing it like the Marlins or the Mariners too, and then we put out we put out Cody Anderson, and he can't make it in an inning, and then all of a sudden we're stretching the whole bullpen trying to get outs, and we're going to wind up paying for the fact that we didn't try to get better. We thought that we could ride the backs of this rotation through the season and get to the playoffs and just try to make something happen there. But we did not pay attention to the fact that no team ever just cruises through a season without injuries. We're down 2 of our top 5.
Yeah, and that's the disappointing thing. We're leaning so hard on our starting 5, on our starting rotation, and now you've got 2 guys out. Corey Kluber hurts his arm, breaks his arm, and then Clevenger with that back, and who knows how long he may be out with that thing.
He can't even sniff a baseball until August.
Yeah, I mean, that's just
And bad part about that is if we do get him back, say in September or in the postseason, he will have just started throwing in probably August to September, and then we're going to be relying on him in big games with about 3 to 4 weeks of rehab, versus when you start a season, you're usually pitching in December, and then you go through spring training and you got all your stuff dialed in and you know where your body is at. And instead, we're just going to be tossing him in there and hoping for the best.
A downward spiral of depression. You keep going here, Danny. Just stop.
Yeah,
kill it.
That's where I'm at with this Indians team right now, because that is.
You gotta look
now the
positive, bro.
naysayers come back and say, "Hey, we just We just had one of the best starts we've had under Tito. We're looking up right now at the Twins, but we're in pretty good shape there. So what else do you want? And I come back and say, if you're actually watching the games, then there's a lot of fool's gold that we've got out there. We've got good pitching, no doubt about it. But that offense, we're just so bad offensively that there is no way that this team is going to be able to compete in the playoffs. And I know that nobody can hit in the playoffs. I understand that. I know the pitching rules, but still, you've got to have a base level. And right now, we don't have a base level at all. And that scares the hell out of me. And it's also going to make for a very frustrating summer to have to watch this team day in, day out. Like today, we had one freaking hit. I cannot sit there all summer and watch games where you have one freaking hit. I'm sorry, guys. That's not going to work. I love pitching. I love a pitching duel. But, God, you got to give me more than one hit. I mean, we got to put some crooked numbers up. I don't know if we're going to make the kind of moves that I'd like. I doubt we will, just knowing our history and our ownership. But we can't keep going the way we are. We really can't.
No.
Yeah. There's hopes that midsummer we do acquire somebody on a rental like we usually try to do, and we'll see where it goes from there. I mean, our bullpen have looked ugly here and there, but they do have the second best ERA across the MLB for bullpens. So kind of sort of come the nitty gritty, they've got it done, but people like Neil Ramirez, John Edwards has looked bad. Otero is what you expect of Dan Otero. He's going to be a 4-point whatever ERA guy. So it's going to be interesting. We have the godsend of we're just competing with the Twins, and the Twins are still young, and they haven't been there, and they're going to have to put a full season together. So we'll see where we go. Let's just hope they get hot come October, and come October, anybody can win it.
And there's that one positive. We talked about hockey and guys like Bobrovsky who get hot, and maybe the bats will all get hot at the right time. And if you do have that, you could always catch lightning in the bottle. We see it in baseball all the time at the end of the season. We know we've got good pitching, and maybe we could do that with our bats. So at least that's the hope. That's the grain of hope that I have in this season, is that maybe something like that happens and gives us a magical run come the end of this year.
Yeah. Jose can't stay cold forever, so...
Yeah.
Let's hope.
You expect him to come around, and I don't know what we're going to do with Kipnis. I don't know if he's going to come around or not. I tell you, he's just so frustrating now, and he's just soaking it up. At second base, he's not giving us anything with a bat, and I don't know. I've gotten frustrated with that guy for a couple of seasons, and I know people like him. He's a fan favorite. Call him dirtbag because he works so hard or whatever. But man, I cannot put up with that guy anymore. Every time I made this remark to my girlfriend today, we were listening to the game, kind of doing some things around the house, but listening to it on the TV, all of a sudden his walk-up music comes up. And it's like, oh man, there's a ground out right there.
Yep.
Like you don't even associate it with good things anymore.
But God, he might have the best walk-up music in the league.
Have you ever heard that whole song?
Yes, I have.
Oh my God, that whole song, and I've watched the video. And Thief by UK, right? Is that how you pronounce this? Yep. Okay or UK?
I can only assume.
It's such a bizarre song to me. I mean, it's cool, but it's just bizarre. I've never heard music like that before. But yeah, and I would only be introduced to that type of music because of baseball and because of Kipnis. So it's pretty wild.
I know. Honestly, I just wish they would bring something like a wild thing for just a walk-up music for me, something that will show the fans go, hey, we need something that's actually like, ours, as opposed to something like Okay by Thief,
Yeah.
It's
I'm a little bit older than you guys, but I've always said my walk-up music, 9 Inch Nails Closer.
Oh.
Gotta go with that, right?
Yeah, that would be appropriate for sure.
Right. And people always like to say, hey, people bring their kids to the game. Well, I'm sorry, man. You choose to bring your kids.
I know my intro music.
The music.
Oh, man.
I can't think of which closer it is now, but somebody's been coming out to the Undertaker's theme song as a closer, and I think that's probably one of the coolest things ever too. Everybody will always say Enter Sandman with Mariano is the best ever, but the Undertaker theme song is pretty cool.
Enter Sandman, the best story with that is Mariano comes out, of course, to Enter Sandman. It did for years, and it was legendary and everything else. And then they played the Mets at Yankee Stadium one year, and I don't know if it was the World Series or not, but they had Wright as their closer, I believe, and he also came out to that song. But they played Mr. Sandman when he came out. Like, Mr. Sandman, give me the 60s song or whatever.
Yeah.
Song it was. So they played that music when he came out. I always thought that was pretty good.
That is so awesome. So we'll kind of transition here, talk a little football news, and we're just coming off the draft, and it was a draft unlike any for Cleveland. We're used to having a top 5 pick and hoping for what the future is, and this year we were just kind of trying to loosen up some rough edges here and tie it all together, and so that'll be fun to talk about. But
yeah, and I think that's amazing how quickly we've gotten to this point. We go from every year the draft is our Super Bowl, and that's kind of become cliche at this point, to now, hey, we're looking at the draft for depth. We didn't even draft the first day for once. We're looking at the draft for depth. I mean, that's so great. I mean, obviously the top end, we're still looking for starters, but generally we're really looking to solidify the second lines and the backups and really do our work there. It's fun to see, and it's fun to know that our hard work was actually done this year before the draft. It really was. Our first round pick was already taken care of. Took care of the wide receiver position. Boom. Done. Don't have to worry about it. Fortify the front four. Boom. Done. Don't worry about it. Okay. Now we can go back. We can work on that other cornerback position. Somebody put up opposite Ward. Beautiful. We can work on the linebacker. Beautiful. We need some help along the line. Beautiful. We need some help in the kicking game. Beautiful. I mean, it really did for me. You just checked the boxes. When I went in with the needs that I had in my mind and what the team did, it was like perfect. It was like dead on. And that's never happened to me as a Browns fan. Usually they do something that's completely off the reservation at some point, and that never came up. And it really didn't. And I don't know whether that should scare me or not. But I give more credit to Dorsey, and I know everybody's kind of singing his praises these days. Another thing that's become cliched, but why not? Why not? I'm ready with this team that we've got right now. I'm ready to go in and do battle in the AFC North next year and the AFC. And hell, I think we got a playoff team, gentlemen. I really do. I think we've got enough talent. I will be interested to see what Kitchens could do. Young coach, but with a young quarterback and with a lot of young energy. There, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And so this is just going to be uncharted territory for us as Browns fans this year and for the team overall. And I am all in for this.
Yep. 17 years since the last playoff appearance, right? 2002.
Yeah. And that would have been a longer playoff appearance if it wasn't for damn Dennis Northcutt. Dropped the damn ball against the Steelers. I still hate him to this day. I forget we had a big lead at halftime, and I was sitting there going, man, today is the day we are going to beat the damn Steelers. And then we get to the end of that ball game, and freaking Northcutt drops that ball. We lose that game, and I didn't realize that would be our last playoff appearance for 17 years after that. If you would have told me then, it probably wouldn't have been a good night, but it's amazing the memories and how they stick out, and it's always negatives, unfortunately, with the Browns and particular players. And Dennis Northcutt has always made my Hall of Shame for that particular playoff game.
And there haven't been too many positives in these last 17 years. You had that one season where they went 10-6 and missed the playoffs.
2007, I believe it was.
Yeah, and then that's the only winning season.
Really thought we were building something. Yeah, I think that was Joe Thomas. You look at the talent that we wasted too. A guy like Joe Thomas, a left tackle, Hall of Famer, all pro for Yeah, never went to the playoffs. I mean, poor guy, really, and deserved to. He just had a fantastic career. Fortunately for a guy like that, he's having a nice second career in the media, and I think he's going to go really far. But you hate to waste talent like that on the field that we had as Cleveland Browns. That doesn't come along very often. He's a kind of a generational type of guy. We were literally able to do nothing with him. Absolutely nothing.
No, absolutely. But he's still going to go on to be a Hall of Famer. Like you said, he's still going to do well in his second career. I think we all believe that. I don't think anyone here doubts that. Yeah, so good dude, loyal dude too. Stayed with Cleveland his whole career, never left. I don't think there was ever any rumors of him leaving or anything. So it was actually just an all-around good dude. I think Cleveland fans love that.
They
guy,
did.
for sure.
McNeil, question: what do you think about the Giants' picks? Do you think that they messed it up, or do you think
I
they?
think so. I think so. I don't know. I know hardly anything about that quarterback.
You got like the best deal. You guys got Odell Beckham Jr. out of it, and they got some decent picks, but they just wasted those picks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we got nothing.
Yeah, I'll tell you, my brother-in-law is a huge Giants fan, and first of all, he was unbelievably upset when Odell Beckham went to the Browns, and it's so great. My son's got an Odell Beckham jersey now, and he's going to wear it around my brother-in-law all the time. I guarantee it. But he's just like, when that pick for the quarterback came across, he's like, what? I mean, he's beside himself right now with that Giants organization. It's nice that the shoe's on the other foot, because they are looking as bad as the Browns had in the past, in terms of not only the on the field, but now what they got going at GM with Gettleman. I mean, that organization is just a mess. It's just a mess. You look at them and you look at the Steelers. Both organizations, traditional powerhouses, good ownership groups that right now are complete messes, which are great to see for the Browns because, it's wide open. It's wide open. The Giants are in the NFC, of course. The Steelers are right there in our division. And so things are really for the taking right now, and I hope the Browns can continue to build.
They can.
Yeah.
And I hope they do.
I know right now, I think the Browns should win this division. I don't see right now any reason why they can't.
If they stay healthy, they should be right in the hunt. There's no reason they shouldn't be. They put up a year like they did last year on kind of just a pop-up thing that wasn't even supposed to happen. I mean, Baker wasn't even really supposed to be on the field yet, and one thing leads to another. Yeah,
I mean, wasn't supposed to be on the field because Hugh Jackson was there. Yeah, that's exactly what Hugh wanted. I think he was about the only one holding back Baker, holding us back from the playoffs. But that was fine. That was fine because we needed to be held back a little bit. I think, we'll have our chance now.
Yeah, absolutely. The Browns draft, like you said, we didn't have a first-round pick, but I think the way they swung this draft, though, if you look at who they picked, it was a solid draft, regardless.
Yeah, obviously Greedy's the headliner. Is there anybody outside of Greedy that kind of sticks out to you, somebody that you're excited for this year?
Well, two things. Number one, I mean, there's going to be Cougars all over Northeast Ohio that are lining up to get these red wine jerseys. Have those across the back. I mean, no doubt, right? I mean, every woman. How many women are going to be in the dog pound wearing red wine jerseys? They love that. Fulfills a need at safety, and then fulfills a need up there in the crowd as well for all these Cougars that want to wear that. So that was number one. And number two is getting a kicker. Out of Oklahoma. A guy who Baker Mayfield obviously knows. You got a little bit of mojo going there. I like that. I'm not sold on Gregory Joseph, so I'm not sold on many of the kickers that we've had since Phil Dawson. So maybe this guy can work out, and I think that's good to have competition at the kicker position for us right now. If we would have had a competent kicker the entire year last year, probably be in the playoffs. So if you between a kicker and Hugh Jackson, we may have won the Super Bowl. I don't know, but it's unbelievable. But yeah, I thought that was a bold choice, and I thought it was a good one. I really did. And so overall, I really thought it was a good draft, and I hope that history bears that out. It's all going to come down to obviously to the top end of it. I think really with Greedy, if him and Ward become the type of dynamic duo that I think that they can. Then this is going to be one for the books, because I harken back, and I always, everybody calls me old man when I start doing this, but Hanford Dixon, Frank Minifield, back when I was 7 years old and loving these playoff teams of the Cleveland Browns back in the 80s, they were the guys who set the tone. They were the guys who established the dog pound in Cleveland. People forget that, Cleveland started the whole fan, the fan dog pound piece of it all started on the defensive side of the ball. And really, we set the tone on that side with those two guys like Clay Matthews, Eddie the Assassin Johnson, all these guys. I could go down the list that really set the tone. And now we got cornerbacks that I think could shut things down, a front four who can get after quarterbacks, specifically guys like Ben Roethlisberger, who are very slow and very close to retirement, who I would love to just plaster at the end of his career. And I think we got the type of team that might be able to do it. So I'm psyched. I think this draft really plays well into what we're trying to do.
Yep. And adds depth in the secondary, something that I feel like Cleveland hasn't had in a long time. So it's pretty exciting. Hopefully Ward can stay healthy this year. That's kind of a concern that I've had since he was drafted last year. I was kind of worried about it. And hopefully he can stay healthy. Him and Greedy would probably, like you said, be definitely a hell of a tandem for sure.
Well, not enough people are talking about Ward too from the injury standpoint, because that concerns me, especially since he's gotten in this concussion protocol a couple of times. That type of an injury really worries me, not only for him as a person, in his life, but also then on the field. Once guys start having those type of issues, they don't just suddenly stop. And
that snowballs real quick.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really obviously hoping that doesn't happen. He's been so special when he's been out there. There's been some times where you're like, wow, this guy's really going to blossom. So I hope something like that doesn't hold him back.
Yeah. And go back to Red Wine. That's honestly one of the picks I was really excited for, because he's going to bring a certain amount of swagger to the team. He's actually the one who came up with the turnover chain down at Miami. So
don't even get me started on that. Okay.
This guy, he's got some pizzazz. He's got enthusiasm. If he can bring that to this defense and just give them that extra little bit of swagger that they're already getting confident in themselves, and adding that extra guy, I think could kind of push it over the edge.
Plus, we've already got, with Baker Mayfield, you got the danger zone we like to play. And now we can play that pathetic UB40 song, Red Wine. Plays, easy fodder for in-game entertainment.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
When they do a turnover, when Sheffield.
Oh, yeah. He's already said that people think they're witty and stuff will come up to him and be like, hey, you heard this song? And he's like, yeah, I heard that.
It's like my parents named me after that song. Okay. It's like, so it's the thing about when I saw that you guys picked Red Wine, for me was like, that's an interesting pick. I mean, he's a good player. I mean, and he had a decent season in Miami.
Wait, your voice went up at the end. Wait, you say player? Wait, what's the problem with him? You sound like a used car salesman. Like, are we going to get put off the lot? It's going to break down. Come on, tell us.
The thing with Red Wine is that he's consistently good, but then he dips in the middle of the season. So he could have a great start.
Good until he's not consistently good.
Consistently good until like the halfway point of the season. Then he just starts dipping down. But if you guys can keep him healthy for the majority of the season, you guys have a great pick. That's just coming from me. Okay, so I don't want to be like the doubter. Just you guys screwed up. You guys have a horrible history when it comes to picks, but you screwed up again. Like, no, this time you guys did a hell of a job. And I mean, I gotta applaud you, man. This is coming from a Miami fan base. It's coming from a Broncos fan base. It's like, hey, if the Browns can make it to the playoffs, make it to the conference final, stuff like that, or something like that, dude, props to you guys. That's all I can say.
So
I'll take that. All right.
Yeah, I think we all appreciate that. But what are your thoughts? I mean, obviously, 2017. Browns go 0-16. Last year they had a hell of an offseason last year too. I mean, if you really break it down, and then obviously the start of the season they fire Hugh, they start Baker, and then they go 7-8-1. And what are your thoughts? I mean, how do you feel like? I don't know. Did you think they were going to be able to do that? Did you think they were going to be able to have the season they had last year?
No, and part of that going into this season was because of Hugh Jackson, to be honest. But here's what I saw, and I'm trying to think back to the beginning of the season. You started to see the buds of something special and I'll be the first to admit, when we drafted Baker, I had a lot of reservations about that guy, mostly because I'm an Ohio State homer and I still did not like the whole flag planting thing. But then also I was one of the lazy guys who said, okay, this guy's going to be like Manziel. And for anybody who knows, the big difference there is that Manziel never worked. And Baker Mayfield works his ass off. Not only does he have the swagger, but he also backs it up in my mind. And that's the big difference between the two of them. But besides the size and some of the other things, the tangible things. But, Hard Knocks started off the season for us last year. And you started to see the leadership qualities in a guy like Baker Mayfield, right? You started to see a guy like John Dorsey, the way that he took the reins of this team. You felt like, okay, maybe we're in better hands than what we've been in the past. Maybe this is the type of team that is set up to win, that can do something. And then you saw Hugh Jackson do some things that made you just scratch your head and go, okay, maybe we're just the same old Browns. So you come into this season, and everybody knows that Hugh Jackson was on his short leash. We started playing well, though. We were right in these ball games, and if it wasn't for the officials and some questionable calls by Hugh, we really started off like gangbusters. And then, of course, Hugh leaves, and we get this renewed sense of optimism. Greg Williams steps in, and for everything that Greg is, he brings a level of excitement and just like, what's he going to do this week to the Browns? And they continue to be exciting. And you bring in Baker Mayfield. Obviously, that took us to another level. But you see the progression. Even from the beginning of the season, I couldn't have thought last summer that this team was going to go and really build for something that we're talking about playoff caliber now. I thought we were 3 years away, and we still may be, by the way. But as you went through that season, you definitely saw the progression from Hard Knocks through firing Hugh, through promoting Baker Mayfield. You saw a team that was coming together. And you saw John Dorsey then this season or this offseason put the pedal to the metal, for lack of a better term, and really double down and start using some of those assets to bring in guys like OBJ and really start putting the finishing touches on what could be a really good team.
Yeah, and the thing that gets forgotten, and I forget it all the time and have to remind myself, we have Kareem Hunt sitting on the back burner. My old classmate at UT, Kareem Hunt.
There you go.
humble brag. I've been watching him since way back in the day. But
you're one of those guys. Yeah. You probably also like to talk when you see a band come up. They're like, I remember them when you're a garage band. You're one of those.
Oh, he's a hipster for sure.
Yeah.
He's a hipster. Oh, a hipster. All right.
See them bring him in and see how they timeshare once he does come back. See, they're adamant on keeping Duke Johnson around for this first half of the season, but what happens to him once Kareem does come back? It's going to be that backfield is loaded with talent.
I'm still not sold on that, by the way. I don't know that Duke's going to be here. I think Duke will be here until we get a great offer for him, and I don't know when that's going to be.
Yeah. And who knows, even if they do get a great offer for him.
We could make this Gerald McCoy thing happen.
Yeah, that's the other one that's sitting out there.
Absolutely.
Talking about locking down your defensive line, if you can bring in somebody like a McCoy, good night.
Oh god!
So
if you guys get McCoy,
clear.
Forget it.
Go ahead, Mark.
No, if you guys get McCoy, forget it. It's over. I'm done. Just giving them the trophy already.
I think it's clear though that we're all pretty optimistic. I think right now they're a playoff team. I really do. I think they're going to win the division this year. I think they're going to win 10, 11 games, 12 games, no problem. And I think they're going to make the playoffs the first time. I don't know what they'll do when they get to the playoffs. Obviously, that's anyone's game, but I'm pretty confident. I like you said, you weren't too sold on the Baker draft, man. I remember driving home. We were leaving a job down in North Carolina. My foreman and I were listening to it on satellite radio on the way up, and we were both pretty pissed when they took him and Ward, honestly. We didn't think they were good picks, but they proved me wrong. I'll be the first to admit I was wrong about both Denzel Ward and Baker Mayfield. So,
at least as of now, hopefully they continue to make us look wrong.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think 2019 looks promising. I think we can all agree we're all pretty excited for football season. I think even someone who hasn't really watched football, I haven't really watched a whole lot of football since I went to the Super Bowl in 2014. I don't know, that game kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, so I kind of migrated away. But this new Browns team is actually kind of almost pulling me back in a little bit. So
I think they're going to be pulling a lot of people in. I think even nationally, this team is, and we've already seen it. You know, the NFL wants to give us more and more primetime slots, and they want to put Baker Mayfield out there at the Kentucky Derby. So the palette right now for the national folks is strong on the Cleveland Browns, and that's refreshing to see. It's something we haven't seen in my lifetime that I can remember, to be honest. America's team, right? Yeah. Hell yeah. Screw Dallas. No one cares about Dallas. Come on, Jerry World down there. No.
It's the Browns.
It's the Midwest. It's the Browns. Come on.
America's sweetheart. Lord. But let's get into the topic at hand.
Before we go into that, what are your guys' predictions? What do you think? What do you think the Browns are going to do this year, record-wise? Just throw out a prediction real quick before we move on.
I'm going to be really optimistic because I don't have any dog in the race. So it's going to be 16-0. How about that?
16-0. There we go. We'll be having a parade.
Maybe you're a Browns fan after all.
Yeah.
That kind of optimism.
I was similarly optimistic. I thought this was really like crazy optimistic before I heard 16-0. Of course, it's 12-4. 12-4.
That's a good one.
I think it's legitimate. I'm not talking out my ass when I say 12-4 may be legitimate for this team. You never know in the NFL. You look at how close we were last year, and that team was not nearly as good as the team could be this year. And we had a lot of games that could have gone either way. 50-50 games. We start picking up those 50-50 games this season with our extra talent. We could definitely win double digits.
Yeah, the teams on the schedule that I think are going to be losses and are going to be very close are Rams, Patriots, Seahawks.
Yep.
Playing in the division, we're going to be okay. There's a lot of teams trying to rebuild on our half. It'll be interesting to see what the Ravens put out this year. I mean, with Lamar Jackson, you don't know what you're going to get.
He'll be dead by the time we play.
Yeah.
We're not talking Lamar Jackson. He's not going to be playing. Forget about that. It's going to be a backup. I'm not even sure who the backup is in Baltimore. Whoever it is, we're going to be playing that guy.
Stuff like the Titans, the Jets. I mean, we're getting a pretty favorable schedule everywhere else. If there was a Vegas money line at 10.5, I would probably take the over and not feel super worried about it.
I think the Titans are going to be pretty tough this year, though. I mean, I don't want to go into that tangent, but I think that game could go either way. But
yeah, especially being the first game of the year. So
yeah, I wish I could go to that one. Maybe I could talk my boss into letting us go. But yeah, so now we'll kind of dive into the topic of the week, which of course you guys know who our guest is. So we're gonna talk about that parade a little bit, man. You know, we had to bring it up. Tell us about that. I mean, tell us about the logistics. You were putting it on the year before too. You were raising money in 2016 for it as well, and they of course won that game against, I believe, San Diego.
The Christmas miracle.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, so you're putting it on, and then obviously you raised the money. You donated all that money, if memory serves me right. It's been a few years now, but
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
we donated. I think all said between the two parades, the one that did not happen and then the one that did, it was over $60,000 or so that went to the Cleveland Food Bank between money donations and that actual food that we collected down there at the site for the parade when that happened.
That's pretty cool.
Incredible.
So it ended up being a pretty cool win-win there. It really did. Really did.
Like,
that's
the thing that got me.
Just to forget about the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing that got me.
That kind of leads us into the next thing. Is like you pissed off a ton of people with that parade. Obviously, there were some people that like me. I thought it was hilarious. I really did. I thought the whole thing was funny as fuck. I think it was a hell of an idea. No one would ever. No one would ever even have thought to do something like that, let alone actually come through and do it. That's crazy, man. But yeah, you made a lot of people mad. I mean, you had some death threats and stuff. So, I mean, that's crazy over a damn parade.
Well, yeah, I mean, and there there was some nuance to it, right? I mean, you had to understand that this was supposed to be an ironic thing. And I think there were some people who just did not get that or didn't want to get that or whatever. They saw it as us celebrating losing. I must have heard it 5 million times. And, I play along with it. And it's just one of those social media things where you either kind of get it or you don't. And I like to believe that most people did. And by the end of it, by the way, most people did. Like, especially the guys in the media. I got a few guys who were really ripping on me hard for this whole parade and saying that I was going to embarrass the city and that, that we were all going to look like idiots. And as it turned out, people nationally ended up understanding what it was all about. You had people out there. It ended up having every flavor that anybody would have wanted. You had the people out there who were protesting ownership, and rightfully so, saying Haslam's, sell the team. We're sick of what you're doing. Fire Hugh. We had that part of it. We had people who took it as like a ceremonial burying of what we've been as far as losers go. We had a fake funeral. There was actually a casket out there that people brought around in a hearse. There were some people who just wanted one last weekend and were treating it as one last tailgate. There was a huge tailgate before this thing even went off. For those who don't know, it was like below zero when this thing started. There were around 3,500 people or so is what the Cleveland PD said were out there for this thing. And basically you lined up for about 45 minutes beforehand. Everybody was lined up in position. We had Rover's Morning Glory, his big bus was at the beginning of this thing. And then we had all the different entrants. I think we ended up having probably 60 or 70 different entrants that were in this, different floats and different things. We had bands, the whole 9 yards. But for those 45 minutes leading up, people were just tailgating and we're having a good time, just kind of connecting with other Browns fans, commiserating at times, at other times, just, saying, what are we going to do next? What's this team going to be all about? And it came off without a hitch. It came off absolutely without a hitch. I talked to the chief of police the following day and I said, hey, listen, was there any fights? Was there any problems? Was there anything caused by this parade? And he said, no, we had absolutely no incidents at the parade. We're going to report that to the media. There was no problems. And in fact, a lot of times what the city will do is they'll bill you back for some of the billable hours for the police. And they said, in this case, we know that you guys are donating the excess money to the food bank, so we're not going to bill you back for anything. So it came off as positive all the way around. I thought most of the news coverage pretty much hit it on the head post parade. So I was pretty happy about that. You're always going to have people who still are hanging out and saying that we embarrass the city in some way, but those are now stragglers. They are not the majority of folks.
Yeah. You also had some players that, I don't know. I saw some on Twitter. I don't know if they ever actually contacted you or not, but I know some players thought it was. They were a little upset with you, and others were like, you know what? Yeah, the city deserves more.
So Emmanuel Agba was one of those that ripped it down. There were a couple of other players who did. And I think Joe Hayden did. Was the year before, I want to say,
yes, he
before he left. But yeah, there were definitely those players. But then I had like the hand of God came in because LeBron James released a statement on it. And LeBron James said, hey, I would prefer the parade be a championship parade, but I'm not going to fault the fans. The organization needs to step up their game, not the fans, is basically what he said. So that blessed off on the entire affair. So any players that would come off after that, it's like, this is what LeBron said. He actually won a championship in this town. So sorry, guys. You guys just went 16. You didn't win a damn game.
No
LeBron
respect for me.
on the thing.
It's
absolutely.
I'll tell you this: no player can come up to you, Chris, and tell you that you embarrass us. Because no, going 0-16 is embarrassing enough. Winning one game in 31 was it 32 games, something like that?
Games.
Yeah, it won in 31. Yeah, Hugh Jackson was 1-31 over those two seasons.
Lord,
that's incredible.
That's insane. Because I'll tell you why. Because there were so many instances in that 0-16.
You don't have to tell us why. We know it's embarrassing, Sammy. Come on. You don't have to explain to us why it's so bad to go 0-16 and 1-31.
Look. This is coming from the.
If you want us to relive this death, then go for it. But I'm just telling you don't have to explain to us why that was so bad.
It's just that
it got. it got so bad that I don't know if I don't want to mention any names or anything. That's on you if you want to, but they were like, certain shows offering to like people to like vandalize your property, sending threats to your family.
No.
I mean, it got pretty crazy there for a little bit.
So one of the nice parts about this, and this was with the first, was Tony Rizzo from ESPN Cleveland wanted to give us a little bit of free publicity, I guess. And he threatened to both kill me as well as run down any participants that went to the parade. And he went off, and this was in the official Browns post game. So I forget which game. It was the game right before we beat San Diego. It was the week right before that. I'm listening. I'm actually in the car with my kids, and I'm listening to this guy. They say, hey, they're talking about the parade. This is weird. It's just the Browns post game. I turn it up for the kids are in the car. And of course he goes on his rant about killing me and everything. And they're like, Dad, is he really going to kill you? I'm like, no, it's all shtick. And don't worry about it or whatever. The blessing of that though, was Dan Levitard picked up on it down there in Miami. You know that.
Yes, that's what I was
so
saying.
Levitard down there very well. Right. So we had a GoFundMe set up, and the GoFundMe had a couple of $1,000s in it to have the parade. And at that point, this is the first parade. I was really sweating that. I was like, I've got to get to at least, in my head, it was like $10,000. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to have this thing at all, or I'm going to be going out of pocket because I've already, said that this thing's going to happen. So what am I going to do? Well, Levitard does like a little telethon for it because Rizzo's rant was so great and so over the top, and he loved it so much. He played it on his show several times. He encouraged people to make this parade happen so that Rizzo would lose his shit, basically.
Dude, that back and forth between Levitard was just insane, man.
Oh yeah. So we raised like $8,000 in, I don't know, a half an hour. And at that point, I'm just sitting there in my living room going, "Oh my God, we're gonna have to make this thing happen now." But it ended up being, it's like so many things with this parade. When you get going in one direction, things come back the other one. And that was certainly one where he's just ripping on it. And he meant that whole speech to just totally belittle me and anybody else who'd think that this could be funny. And it ended up raising thousands of dollars for the Cleveland Food Bank. So thank you, Tony Rizzo, for that.
Absolutely. That's not even who I had in mind. I completely forgot about that one. But yeah, it's just crazy that it just something like this just blew up so much, man, that you were receiving death threats.
Oh yeah, and I have it on Twitter just on a regular basis. Now the thing that people don't understand about this, and this is what I tried to explain to people, is that as much fun as we had with it, this was a legitimate event, right? This is a legitimate public event with thousands of people who are to attend in a post 9/11 type of an environment. So we had not only the FBI involved in this thing, but also Homeland Security, because who knows? I mean, some crazy could easily go through the crowd, could bomb it. I mean, it was after the Boston Marathon and all these horrible things that have happened. They're going to take every precaution to make sure that anybody who's down there is safe. So they're monitoring social media. So those people who are out there making threats, they were, I don't know on the back end what ended up happening. I know some of them were suspended off of Twitter. I don't know if there were any conversations past that, but I will say, if you're out there in the future and you're making threats on social media, just know there are people watching. And for an event like that, that's a social, or that's a big public event, be very, very careful. There are no jokes with that kind of stuff. So I had to be real careful with the way I interacted with folks after that.
I'll tell you that, man.
It's just crazy that you even had to go through it over something like that. But
oh yeah, and at the end of the day, I knew that these are kind of keyboard warriors for the most part, so I didn't give it much thought. But you never know when a keyboard warrior will become something else. So that's why it's good to have those boys in blue and the guys in the feds out there who can help us and make sure we're all safe.
Absolutely.
What is even like? Where is step one on like? I want to have a parade into this is getting put into action. Where do you even start on? I mean,
it's my favorite part probably of this whole thing. So it all started with just a stupid tweet, right? Where I tweeted, the Browns were playing just horribly, as we know, from that year, and where we went 1-15. And I said, this team deserves a parade. And it was completely tongue in cheek because we had just watched the Indians make it to the World Series Game 7. We just had the Cavs had a legitimate parade, and I put that out there, and it got a lot of traction. People, we could have this kind of a float. We could have, all our quarterbacks since they came back, blah, blah, blah. And people were making the same, generic jokes that we normally make. And a guy reached out to me and DM'd me, said, hey, in the city of Cleveland, for this piece of paper, and he sent me an application, and $25, you can have a parade. And I thought, oh, no way. Oh, this will be fun. $25. This is worth it for $25. So I filled the thing out. I sent it in. I faxed it in with my $25 check. And I thought, well, they're probably just going to file this in the trash or something. And I'm never going to hear from them again. Very next day, a representative from the city of Cleveland said, okay, the next step is, Chris, you need to come in with your committee. Now, committee is, okay, yeah, my committee. I didn't have a committee. It was just me. We need you and your committee to come in and present to the city of Cleveland. She gave me a date at 10 a.m., and we're going to have all of the leaders of all the different departments within the city there. And we're talking Department of Police, the police department, excuse me, Parks and Recreation, trash removal, Homeland Security, the Port Authority, people from the different lots. I mean, everybody who you could imagine would be in at this meeting was there. And basically that's what they do for events in the city. And they invite you in and you sit at this huge table and you give your presentation of what you want to do. And then they pepper you with questions of, have you thought of this? How are you going to handle this? How are you going to handle this? Depending upon what it is. And it's amazing because I was sitting in that meeting and it's like, how do you get to this point where I'm sitting here and this stupid tweet, 140 characters, and I'm sitting here just being grilled by all these guys from the city. And fortunately, I had some good people there who were really well, who understood what we were trying to do. And then also understood that, hey, this isn't going to be a bad thing. It needs to be safe though. And that's what we did. And they gave me some names of some security firms. And I found a very good one, a guy who really knows the ins and outs of the city. And he helped me. And we were able to come up with a plan that ended up working really, really well, as you know, but it all came out of just a stupid tweet, guys, 140 characters. So this should be a lesson to anyone out there. Just be very careful when you hit the send button. You don't know what you're actually going to be signing up for in life sometimes.
Like you said, it ended up working out quite well, and hopefully your 16-0 parade goes off without a hitch.
Thank you. Yes, I can't wait for that one.
All right. Well, look, guys, I think. What were you gonna say, Marlon? Before we wrap this up,
I was gonna say that sometimes, the greatest things happens from a small thing, and the fact that Chris went through all of this trouble to give something to the city of Ohio from something bad, something that's just sports related, to something good, giving it to the food bank and giving it back to the people. For me, that's like the best out of it, Like,
yeah.
We can thank Chris and the parade for us now having Baker and OBJ.
Right.
Yeah.
We changed the culture.
You changed the way that people look at
either me or John Dorsey. I'll pretty much hitch my trailer to John Dorsey. But I appreciate it.
Well, like I said, look out for Chris's 16-0 parade. We're all expecting it, so you better get on it. Better get the planning. I know we all know you know what to do when it comes to parades. So
you better paint the roads, Dalton.
Right. That's right. Hey, I'll be ready to go, gentlemen. Hey, I will be the most ready to go of anybody if we go 16-0. Trust me.
You're gonna have LeBron James there this time.
That's right.
One last question here. Yes. What's your feelings on ketchup on a hot dog?
Yeah, I saw that.
Only communists do that. Come on, you know that. Ketchup on a hot dog. Don't ever do that. Mustard every time. Stadium mustard preferred. 100%.
I'm of the same stance.
Ketchup, mustard, and relish.
Ketchup. See, I can't do the combo either, man. I love the relish. I'll do that. Onion sometimes, but give me some stadium mustard on there. And then, for those who are really out there, who are real space cadets on this one, if you put it on a brat, just don't even talk to me. Like, you put ketchup on a brat, oh my God. You need to be,
I'll do ketchup on a hot dog, but not ketchup on a brat ever. It's got to be mustard or something like mustard.
That's exactly right.
Something of the mustard family.
Yes, that's right.
So
actually, talking about that's funny because when I went to go see Endgame, I
No
asked for a hot
spoilers.
dog.
I still have not seen it.
No spoilers. Relax. Don't worry about it. I know it. But when I went to go see Endgame, I went to the stand. And I asked, "Hey, I need a hot dog." They gave me already with ketchup. I said, "Nope. Put it back. Get me
send
mustard."
that back. You send that back. That's
I don't need this. I want my mustard, sir. We don't have any. Then give me the thing without anything in it. Okay, I'll eat the damn hot dog by itself. I was so mad with them. But yeah, that's all that I have, man.
Well, to anyone who listens to this, we appreciate you listening. We appreciate Chris coming on the show, man. It definitely meant a lot to us, man. Thank you.
Oh, this was fun, guys. I really appreciate it. It was a good time talking, hanging out, and just talking some Cleveland sports and everything else in between there.
Absolutely. This is a little bit different than what we normally do, so I hope you guys all enjoy it. Thank you, Danny, for hosting this thing. You did a hell of a job, first time hosting.
Yeah. Chris, can you tell everybody where they could find you if they're not already following you, if they're not already watching your show?
Yes. You can follow me at reflog_18. Remember, reflog is just golfer backwards. And you can also catch me Monday nights. We'll be on tomorrow. We do a show called the Big Play Reflog Show. You can catch that on my Twitter account. It's usually pinned to the top. That's the best spot to find it.
All right.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep.
See you guys.
See you guys.